There is a modern misconception held by some that European anti-Semitism first manifested itself in Nazi Germany during World War II. However, anti-Semitism has roots in Europe and elsewhere that go back thousands of years. A horrifying example of this recurring injustice transpired in 15th century Spain in the form of the Inquisition, and more specifically, the Alhambra decree. On the gloomy banks of the Guadalete River in Sevilla, Spain, sits a nearly forgotten monument. Made of red brick, the Monumento a la Tolerancia is a testament to the peace and coexistence that was once shared by the three monotheistic religions that occupied the Iberian Peninsula. Constructed in 1992 by artist Eduardo Chiadia, the faded red structure is dedicated specifically to the Jewish peoples of the Iberian Peninsula that were violently exiled by the Kingdom of Spain in the year 1492. That expulsion would mark the end of a period of religious harmony that was once present for the previous 800 years under the Muslim rule of Al-Andalus. The name of the structure, translated as the Monument of Tolerance, is a callback to the tolerance that was once shared by the various religions during Muslim rule. In the late 15th century, a fateful proclamation echoed through the heart of the newly formed Spanish kingdom. The Alhambra decree, also known as the Edict of Expulsion, forced the Jewish population of the Iberian Peninsula to convert to Christianity or face irreversible expulsion from their ancestral homeland. The Inquisition and the violence that followed have permanently tarnished the pages of Spanish history, and its impact on the Jewish community of the Mediterranean can still be felt today. Once ruled by a group of early Christians called the Visigoths, the Iberian Peninsula saw a swift, successful invasion by North African Muslim forces from the south in the year 711 Common Era. Led by General Tariq bin Ziyad, a group of 7,000 African soldiers landed on the Rock of Gibraltar and began a push through the south of the peninsula. Over a period of 7 years, the invading Muslims fought back against Visigothic control and pushed the 4 Visigothic Christian kingdoms into northern territories close to what is now southern France. During the Islamic rule of the Iberian Peninsula, Jews, Muslims, and remaining Christians lived, for the most part, in harmony. Unlike the previous Visigothic rulers, the Moors allowed a multitude of cultures to share the land and cities under their control. The Muslim rulers supported the growth of their cities by constructing schools, mosques, and various other amenities that would benefit anyone living during this time, in a period now referred to as the Golden Age of Spanish history. Although non-Muslims were given fewer rights than Muslim citizens, Jews and Christians were not forced to convert or live in segregation, and were even granted the same civil and criminal legal protections. By granting Jewish people specific rights that they would never have under Visigothic rule, the Moors inadvertently sparked a significant growth in the Jewish population of the peninsula. Over the next 800 years, the 4 Christian kingdoms of Asturias, Galicia, Leon, and Castile would fight tooth and nail to regain their former land. The city of Toledo, once a pillar of Muslim rule, an example of the harmony once shared by the 3 Abrahamic religions, would fall back to Christian rule in the year 1085. After 700 years of steady gains through the north of Spain, the marriage of Ferdinand of Aragon and Isabella of Castile in the year 1469 would begin a process of merging the 4 Spanish kingdoms into one. With stronger political and military unity, the kingdoms were now able to almost entirely remove the Muslim presence in the north, and Moorish territory was pushed back towards Granada in the south. Following the capture of Granada in 1492, the Christians would complete their conquest and return to their former power of the peninsula yet again. After the reconquest of the Iberian Peninsula, Ferdinand and Isabella faced a complex situation regarding the Jewish communities in their newly unified and Christian land. Anti-Jewish sentiments were at an all-time high going into the unification of the Spanish kingdoms. Throughout the later half of the Reconquista, a pattern of mistreatment of Jews by the Christian government had been growing more and more apparent. With numerous anti-Jewish riots and massacres in the 13th and 14th centuries, occurring in the cities of Toledo, Sevilla, and Cordoba, it was clear that the Christian government was preparing a course of action to deal with the Jews in their kingdom. The growth and presence of the Jewish population in the region over the past 8 centuries had resulted from the lax laws and societal acceptance of Jewish people under Islamic rule. During Islamic rule, Jews grew their businesses, purchased property, and became essential parts of their communities. On November 1st, 1478, Pope Sixtus IV published a document called the Exeget Sinceris Devotionis Affectus. That document detailed a process of rooting out Jewish presence among Christian communities and ordered the execution of anyone found guilty of secretly practicing Judaism. This document would officially establish the Spanish Inquisition in the northern parts of the Kingdom of Castile, and over the next 2 decades, it would spread all throughout the Christian kingdom. The Inquisition and the tribunals that accompanied it were brutal and terrifying. Anyone suspected of secretly being Jewish or even just violating Christian religious norms would be tortured and killed. Throughout this era, countless individuals who were believed to be crypto-Jews, Jews who had converted to Christianity yet continued to observe Judaism in secret, were subjected to questioning and subsequently put to death. On February 6, 1481, in Sevilla, the very first proclamation of a decree against individuals thought to be heretics was conducted, accompanied by public prayer and a procession. By the end of the day, 6 individuals were cruelly burned alive. Readings like this would be referred to as auto da fe, the final step in the tribunal process. The Inquisition saw an all-time peak in activity from the years 1480 to 1530. In that 50-year span, over 2,000 suspected Jews were executed. For the next 3 centuries, countless tribunals would happen all over the kingdom. The Alhambra, a beautiful fortress and the last Muslim stronghold during the Reconquista, became the new royal court of the Spanish kingdom and a pivotal location in Spanish history in the late 15th century. In 1492, within the walls of their new home, the newly crowned king and queen would make 2 profoundly significant decisions that would permanently affect Spain, Judaism, and the entire world. On the 31st of March, the Christian rulers would sign the Alhambra Decree, forcing mass religious conversion and sending tens of thousands of Jews to death or exile. Then, on April 17th, Ferdinand and Isabella would sign documents permitting and funding an expedition across the Atlantic in search of new trade routes. That expedition would be led by Italian explorer Christopher Columbus and would set the stage for the Spanish colonization and conquest of the Americas. With just 2 simple signatures in the matter of a couple of months, the king and queen permanently shifted the course of history and completely destroyed Jewish life in their kingdom. Prior to the violent removal and genocide that came with the Alhambra Decree, the Jewish population of the Iberian Peninsula found themselves in a unique socioeconomic position. Like many other Jewish communities in Europe, Spanish Jews were much more financially successful than other religious groups under the governance of the Spanish monarchy. According to Spanish law at the time, Jews were the only religious class allowed to lend money or charge interest on such loans. Due to their unique ability to finance businesses, construction, or even fund government projects, the Jewish people of Spain were some of the only subjects of the government that could afford to pay taxes. Similar to many other Jewish expulsions in Europe, the 1492 removal was significantly motivated by financial exploitation. Many who were unable to completely liquidate their belongings had to leave behind homes, businesses, and goods. When the Spanish government finalized the removal just a month later, the properties, currency, and unpaid loans were absorbed and owned by the state. The actual process of removal was brutal and swift. The Alhambra Decree declared boldly, "Our council, having taken deliberation about this matter, resolved to order the said Jews and Jewesses of our kingdom to depart and never to return." The rationale behind such a decision is briefly mentioned in the decree. However, it was a weak attempt to cover the anti-Semitic mindsets and financial motives that fueled the expulsion. The decree continues on by explaining the fears surrounding the coexistence of Christians and Jews in the Spanish kingdom. Since the Christians have engaged and continue to engage in social interaction and communication, they have had means and ways to subvert and to steal faithful Christians from our holy Catholic faith, and to separate them from it, and to draw them to themselves and subvert them to their own wicked belief and conviction. The devastating impact of the Inquisition and the Alhambra decree on the Jewish population of Spain cannot be understated. Over the course of 3 centuries, these oppressive measures all but wiped out the once thriving Jewish presence that had flourished across the Iberian Peninsula. It is estimated that 60 to 100,000 Jewish people were exiled or executed during the time of the Inquisition. Despite the official permission for Jews to return to Spain in 1834 and the repeal of the Alhambra decree in 1968, the Jewish community has struggled to reclaim its former strength. Today, estimates suggest only a fraction of the original population remains, with approximately 20 to 40,000 scattered individuals across the country. While Spain's offer of citizenship in 2015 provided a glimmer of hope for the descendants of those expelled, the number of accepted applicants by December 2019 was disappointingly low, at just 6,000. The echoes of this historical persecution still reverberate through the Jewish community in Spain, serving as a somber reminder of the lasting consequences of religious intolerance and discrimination. This is a chapter in history that needs not to be forgotten. By continuing to remember horrific events like these, we can ensure that evils like this never happen again. So until next time, stay vigilant and never forget your history.